You ruined everything, Barklyn. Everything. And when this settles, you'll be the one left with nothing. Those were the last trembling words Matilda forced out before slamming our condo door, still convinced she could lie her way out of the disaster she created with her boss, Harlow Milly. What she didn't know was that the man she betrayed had already set in motion a quiet, devastating plan. One built on truth, timing, and evidence she never imagined I possessed. What happened next dismantled her entire world piece by piece. Viewers, have you ever watched someone gamble their whole future on a secret they thought you'd never uncover? Tell me, how would you react? Please subscribe, like, comment, and watch till the ending to share this interesting to your family and friend. My name is Barklyn Steve, and before everything fell apart, before betrayal carved a permanent scar through the center of my life, I used to think I was the kind of man nothing dramatic ever happened to. I'm a 34-year-old freelance video editor living in Denver, the quiet kind of guy who notices details other people miss. Reflections in windows, mismatched shadows, the flicker of hesitation in someone's eyes. I didn't realize that those same instincts would one day save me, or that they'd expose the one woman I trusted most in the world. Even now, when I look back on it, I can see every warning sign as if it were framed and color-graded on a monitor in front of me. But back then, I brushed them away the way you ignore a glitch you think will fix itself. I met Matilda 6 years earlier, bright smile, restless energy, a woman who never liked the idea of settling. I thought her drive complemented my calm. I didn't understand that deep down she feared obscurity the way some people fear drowning. And the woman she worked under, Harlow Milly, had a talent for spotting weaknesses like that. If I'd known then how the two of them would reshape my life, I might have walked away before a single promise was made. But that's the problem with trusting people. You never think the knife will come from someone you sleep beside. The email came on a Wednesday morning, glowing on Matilda's laptop screen like a tiny doorway to a future I didn't yet understand. She was getting ready for work, hair half curled, the smell of her expensive vanilla perfume drifting through the apartment. I remember the way her eyes lit up when she said, "It's the company Christmas party. This year's a big one. Harlow's hosting it at that new rooftop place." Her voice sounded excited, but there was something else. An edge, a sharpened note I couldn't place. At first, she insisted I come with her, practically begged me to clear my schedule for it. That enthusiasm lasted exactly 2 days. By Friday her tune had changed. She stood in the kitchen, avoiding my eyes while stirring her coffee. "You know, it's mostly work people. Long speeches. Networking. I don't want you to be bored." Her hand trembled just slightly as she set the mug down, and because I always notice movement before anything else, I caught it. When I asked why she didn't want me there anymore, she shrugged too casually. Too practiced. That's when I first heard the name again, Harlow Milly. A woman I'd met only once, but who left a lasting impression. Razor-sharp bob, colder-than-glass stare, and a voice that sounded like she smiled with only half her mouth. She was the kind of person who could read a room and choose exactly who she wanted from it. Matilda idolized her. Matilda wanted to be her. And something about that combination made my stomach twist as the party day approached. Please don't forget to subscribe. I wasn't supposed to find the dress. That's what still chills me. The way fate sometimes grabs you by the collar, forcing you to see what you weren't ready for. It was Saturday morning, the day after Matilda convinced me not to attend the Christmas party. She'd already left for an early team prep meeting, her words, not mine. I went to grab a hoodie from the closet, and there it was. A shimmering silver dress tucked behind her winter coats, still half wrapped in tissue paper. It wasn't the kind of dress you wear to blend in. It was the kind of dress you wear when you want to be noticed. I pulled it out and the sequins caught the light in small, cold flashes. Expensive. Elegant. Far bolder than anything Matilda had worn in years. The kind of dress she used to wear back when we were first dating, back when she loved turning heads. Back before the world told her she was ordinary. A memory hit me hard, 2 years earlier at a friend's wedding. Matilda whispered that she wished people looked at her the way they looked at the confident, glamorous women in the room. I held her hand, told her she didn't need validation from strangers. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that collapses inward the moment you stop watching. So when she walked through the door later that afternoon and saw me holding the dress, she flinched, not physically but emotionally. Just a flicker. But I caught it. "When did you get this?" I asked. She hesitated. A beat too long. Then, "It was on sale. Impulse thing. Not for the party." A lie delivered softly is still a lie. Especially when she refused to meet my eyes, and slept that night facing the wall, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. Snow had started falling by the time the evening of the party arrived, soft flakes drifting under the glow of the streetlights like tiny warnings dropped from the sky. Matilda stood in front of the mirror, wearing the dress she swore wasn't for the party. Her reflection looked like a stranger wearing my wife's face, hair styled smoother than usual, makeup heavier, perfume stronger. She didn't even try to hide it anymore. It was as if she'd already stepped into another life and was just visiting mine for the evening. "You sure you don't want me to come with you?" I asked, leaning casually against the doorway. Casual, but listening. Watching. She froze only for a moment, then resumed adjusting her earrings. "Barklyn, it's better if you don't. It's just work. Networking. You'll hate it." That was the third time she'd used that line. Repetition like that always means someone is trying to convince themselves as much as you. When she grabbed her purse, I noticed how tightly she held it, like something inside mattered. Too much. I thought of the dress, the party, the shift in attitude, and I felt the first real sting of dread crawl up my spine. Another memory flashed through me. A year earlier she came home complaining about a late project, saying Harlow expected loyalty. The way she said loyalty felt off then. It sounded like devotion. Obedience. Something deeper than professional respect. I shrugged it off back then, my first mistake. She left earlier than she told me she needed to. The click of her heels echoed down the hall, fading into the elevator's dull buzz. I watched her from the living room window as she stepped into the rideshare, a silver streak disappearing into the night. Her location on our shared app updated once, twice, then froze. Stopped dead in a part of the city she'd never mentioned. I stared at the screen, a pit opening in my stomach. Because when Matilda didn't want to be seen, she made sure she wasn't. Please don't forget to subscribe. The apartment was silent except for the soft hum of my computer and the occasional groan of the heater working against the cold Denver night. I kept checking Matilda's location, refreshing, waiting, convincing myself it was just a glitch. But after 20 minutes of the dot not moving, the rationalization stopped. My instincts, the same ones that helped me catch continuity errors and footage most people would overlook, began stitching pieces together, forming an outline I didn't want to see. At 11:14 p.m. my phone buzzed. A message from Jenna, one of Matilda's co-workers. We'd spoken only a few times. Nothing close. Just enough for me to know she wasn't the type to get involved unless she had to. Her message was short. No explanation. No greeting. "Thought you should see this." There was a video attached. My hand shook as I tapped it. The screen went black for a second, then grainy party lights filled the frame, gold, red, shifting. Music thumped faintly in the background. People laughed off camera. The footage was shaky, filmed from behind a pillar or maybe over someone's shoulder. Then I saw her. Matilda. The dress. The hair. The unmistakable way she tilted her head when she was tipsy, playful, reckless, forgetting the world around her. She was pressed against someone. At first all I saw was a silhouette. Then the camera angled just enough. Harlow Milly. Matilda leaned in, whispering something into Harlow's neck, and Harlow smiled, slow, predatory. A hand slipped around Matilda's waist. Then Matilda kissed her. Not a confused, accidental kiss. A kiss with history behind it. A kiss with intent. My breath caught, but before I could process the betrayal, something else appeared on screen. Matilda reached into her purse and pulled out a thin black folder. She handed it to Harlow like an offering. Harlow opened it, glanced inside, and the two of them laughed, heads close, private, intimate. I knew that folder. I knew exactly what was inside. My app prototype. My sketches. My work. Work she'd promised to show to a friend for feedback months earlier. My chest tightened. I replayed the clip frame by frame, zooming in on the cover, the edges of my printed diagrams, the signature corner tear I'd made by accident. There it was. There she was. And there they were, together. In that moment, the betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was professional, personal, intellectual. She wasn't just cheating on our marriage. She was cheating on my future. I sat in the dark living room, the video paused on Matilda's smiling face, and something inside me shifted, quietly, decisively. Pain gave way to clarity, and clarity gave birth to purpose. I watched that video so many times the screen started to blur, but the part that kept replaying in my mind wasn't the kiss. It was the folder. That thin, unremarkable black folder that held 2 years of my work. My late nights, my self-taught coding, my dreams of finally creating something meaningful. Seeing it in Harlow Milly's hands was like watching someone else cradle your heartbeat. And the way they laughed over it, as if my future were an inside joke between lovers, carved something deep and irreversible into me. I spent the next hour in a fogged state of disbelief, sitting at my desk with every light off except the cool blue glow of the monitor. I zoomed into the frames again. There was the app's rough wireframe, my handwriting, my ideas, and the devastating truth: Matilda hadn't stumbled into temptation, she had planned this. The dress, the secrecy, the sudden insistence I skip the party. She wasn't just slipping away from me emotionally, she was aligning herself with someone who offered her what she always craved: status, validation, the feeling of being chosen by someone powerful. A flashback hit me with the force of a punch. 2 months earlier, when she came home giddy after a leadership mentoring session. She told me Harlow said she had potential, that she carried the spark of someone meant for more. At the time, I'd smiled at her excitement, proud of her confidence. I didn't see how those words were rewiring her, making her dependent on Harlow's approval. Another memory surfaced, late-night whispers she thought I couldn't hear, Matilda on the phone saying, "I'll get it to you soon, no, he won't notice." I'd assumed she meant a small work file. I never questioned it. The truth had been sitting in my house like a quiet intruder. The longer I stared at the freeze frame of Matilda handing over the folder, the more something inside me hardened. The hurt shifted into something colder, clearer, like ice forming over still water. I opened my drawer and pulled out Matilda's old notebook, a place she used to write her goals, dreams, insecurities. On one page she'd scribbled, "I want to make a name for myself. I don't want to blend into a life I didn't choose." That line used to break my heart with empathy. Now it only revealed her motive. The betrayal wasn't random. It was intentional. She saw my work not as ours, not as something she believed in, but as a stepping stone. A bargaining chip. A way to impress a woman she was falling for. Or maybe already fallen. I realized then that this wasn't just infidelity. This was exploitation, manipulation, and ambition gone feral. And whatever happened next, I couldn't afford to react with emotion. Emotion was how I ended up blindsided. I needed to think like an editor, cold, analytical, patient, piecing together footage until the story revealed itself. The folder, the kiss, the secrecy, the hunger for validation. All scenes in a film I never agreed to star in. My breathing slowed. My mind sharpened. I opened a new folder on my desktop and titled it, Evidence, Matilda and Harlow. Because if they were willing to destroy my future for theirs, then I needed to make sure they understood something. I may be quiet. I may be patient. But I'm not powerless. And I never miss. Details. Please don't forget subscribe. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of grief. Grief had already burned through me like a fever earlier. What settled afterward was something much calmer. Colder. A clarity that felt almost clinical. I sat at my desk with the blinds half open, letting the glow from the street lamps slash across the room in sharp angles. It made the space feel like an interrogation chamber, and maybe that was fitting. Because I was no longer a husband trying to make sense of a broken marriage. I was a man assembling a case. I started with the video Jenna sent. I pulled it into my editing software frame by frame. I isolated Matilda's expression when she handed over the folder. Eager, nervous, hopeful. Harlow's smirk, calculating and possessive. Their body language told a story even without the audio. Next, I captured screenshots of anything identifiable, the pages inside the folder, the company logo in the background, the timestamp. Then I dug into Matilda's phone backups on our shared cloud, something she'd forgotten I still had access to. I found conversations she thought she deleted. Messages with Harlow hidden under an alias contact name. Lines like, "He thinks it's still just mine. Don't worry, I'll bring it Friday. I want you to be proud of me. I'm done living small." That last one hit me like a hammer. Not because of the content, but because it confirmed what I'd suspected. She saw me as small. Our life is small. And Harlow represented the world she wanted to escape into. I opened more folders, deeper layers, places she didn't think I knew how to navigate. Old emails forwarded to her personal address. Drafts she'd typed and abandoned. A photo I'd never seen of her and Harlow at a conference months earlier, standing too close, laughing too hard, their shoulders touching in a way that felt rehearsed. Every new piece of evidence shaped the truth more sharply. This wasn't a new affair. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment kiss after one too many drinks. This was an escalation of something that had been simmering for months. A quiet rage hummed underneath my ribs, but I didn't let it control me. I treated it like a project. A story. A puzzle I had all the pieces for, even the ones I didn't know existed. And then I remembered something that made everything click. My uncle, a retired corporate lawyer, once told me, "People don't get destroyed by what they do wrong. They get destroyed by the rules they break while doing it. I grabbed my phone and called him, even though it was nearly 2 in the morning. He answered on the second ring. Bad time? I asked. With that tone, he said. Tell me everything. I told him about Matilda. About Harlow. About the folder. He listened, silent except for the occasional hum of recognition. When I finished, he exhaled sharply. This is serious, Barklyn. What she did. That's not just unethical, it's illegal. If those documents are yours and she misrepresented ownership, that's intellectual property theft. And if she's romantically involved with her superior, the company needs to know. Immediately. For the first time in hours, my hands felt warm again. I spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Screenshots, videos, correspondence, cloud backups, copies of my original app sketches with timestamps. I organized them with the precision of someone who'd been trained all his life to see patterns. The evidence was overwhelming. And when I finally compressed the folder, labeling it with the simple, devastating title, Ethics Violation Report, Confidential, I hesitated for only a second. Just long enough to feel the last pieces of my old life fall away. Then I sent it, anonymously, to the company's board of directors, HR and legal. I sat back, exhaled, and looked around my dim apartment. For the first time since the video, I felt something new. Not relief. Not satisfaction. But readiness. Because the story wasn't over. And the next act was going to ruin them both. The email went out at 6:42 a.m. on Monday, the hour when the city is still shaking sleep from its eyes, when Matilda usually tiptoed around the apartment so she wouldn't disturb me. But this morning she moved like a ghost. Quiet, distracted, shoulders tense under the weight of secrets she didn't know were already unraveling. I sat at the kitchen table pretending to edit footage, headphones around my neck rather than on my ears. I heard everything. Every shaky breath. Every tap of her heel against the tile. She was waiting for something, though she didn't yet understand what. At 9:03 the world began to collapse. Her phone vibrated once. Twice. Again. The vibration turned into an angry, continuous buzzing as notifications piled in. Emails, missed calls, internal company alerts. She froze mid-step, staring at the screen with widening eyes. Barklyn. Something's wrong, she whispered. Her voice was barely audible, as if she feared speaking too loudly might make it real. I looked up, feigning confusion. What is it? She swallowed hard. I've been locked out of my company account. And HR just emailed me. They need me to come in immediately. They said it's urgent. Her hands trembled. Not a little. Not subtly. Violently, like a person who just realized they've wandered into a trap. She stepped closer to me, panic cracking her voice. Do you think someone is trying to sabotage me? I held her gaze, and for the first time in days I didn't feel anger. Just distance. Like I was watching her from behind a glass wall. I don't know, I said carefully. But you should go see what they want. She rushed out, leaving the apartment door ajar behind her, a detail she never forgot. I closed it slowly, savoring the soft click as if sealing off a chapter. 2 hours later she returned. The moment she stepped in, I knew. Her mascara had run in dark streaks down her cheeks. Her hair was wind-tangled, like she'd walked through a storm even though the sky outside was clear. She held a crisp white envelope in her hand. Suspension. Full investigation. The affair. The breach of company policy. The unauthorized sharing of intellectual property. The conflict of interest. The potential legal implications. She stood in the doorway clutching the letter like it was a death notice. Someone reported everything, she choked out, voice cracking. All of it. Even things I never told anyone. Her knees buckled and she dropped into a chair, staring at nothing. Then came the unraveling, her confession. A messy, desperate spill of words. It wasn't supposed to mean anything, she sobbed. Harlow made me feel seen. She made me feel important. I didn't think it would go this far. I let her talk. Let her reveal every piece of betrayal, every memory she'd guarded, every moment she thought she'd hidden from me. She admitted the affair had started months earlier. That the kisses in the video were not the beginning, they were the culmination. She said she felt insignificant with me, that she wanted to step into a bigger life, that Harlow promised her mentorship, advancement, a future. I listened, silent, unmoving. The truth didn't hurt anymore. It simply confirmed what I already knew. When she finally looked up at me, eyes swollen, voice faint, she whispered, Barklyn, please tell me you believe me. Tell me you know I never meant to hurt you. My expression didn't change. Because the micro cliffhanger she didn't see coming was the one hanging silently between us. She still didn't know I was the one who reported her. She didn't ask who reported her. Maybe she was too stunned. Maybe she was afraid to know. Or maybe, deep down, she already suspected, just not enough to say it out loud. Not yet. But I knew the truth would hit her soon. It always does. While she cried on the couch, hands tangled in her hair, I walked into the bedroom and closed the door quietly behind me. The soft click of the latch felt symbolic, like the moment a director calls cut, and a scene ends forever. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out a folder of my own. Not the one she handed Harlow. This one was thicker. Inside were printed copies of everything I'd documented. The video, the screenshots, the messages from her backups, the cloud logs, my original app drafts with timestamps, legal notes from my uncle. Every page was a piece of a life she didn't know I'd been collecting. My life, the one she tried to repurpose for someone else. I took a slow breath and slipped the documents into a sleek black portfolio. The same kind businessmen use. The same kind Harlow always carried. Then I did something I had never imagined doing when we got married. I drove to my lawyer's office. The building was downtown, glass, steel, and clean lines. The kind of place where the air always felt colder. I walked inside with determination thrumming under my skin. My lawyer, Whitman, greeted me with a professional nod. "You're ready to proceed?" I placed the folder on his desk with a deliberate thud. "File it." He flipped through the pages, eyebrows rising with every detail. "Given the intellectual property theft," he said, "you have grounds not only for divorce, but for damages." "And the company?" I asked. He leaned back. "They'll want to settle quietly. Their former executive, Harlow, has left them exposed. This will not go away without consequence." I left his office feeling weightless, not happy, not triumphant, but resolute. Like someone who'd finally stepped out of a burning building and realized his lungs could breathe again. When I returned home, Matilda was sitting at the dining table, staring at the wall, red-eyed and trembling. She looked up as I entered, hope flickering in her expression like a dying candle. "Where did you go?" she asked, voice small. I placed the manila envelope, the divorce papers, on the table in front of her. Her face drained of color. "Barklyn, no. Please, don't do this. Not today. I can fix this. I can fix everything." Her voice spiraled into panic, hands shaking as she reached for the envelope. "We can get through this. You and me, we've survived things before." I looked at her with a calmness that seemed to terrify her more than any yelling could have. "I'm filing," I said. "I'm not staying in a marriage where I'm a backup plan." She shook her head violently. I didn't," she stopped, breath hitching. "Why are you being so cruel?" Cruel. The word didn't sting. It didn't move me. It only clarified the space between who she believed I was and who she thought she could manipulate. I leaned forward just enough for her to see the truth in my eyes. "Matilda," I said softly, "you already destroyed us. I'm just finishing the paperwork." Tears streamed down her face. "Why are you doing this to me?" She sounded genuinely confused, and that was the tragedy of it. She truly didn't believe she'd done anything unforgivable. In her mind, her betrayal was a mistake, amplified by circumstances. She still believed her intentions excused her actions. I stood up, walked past her, and opened the front door. Her voice cracked behind me. "Tell me the truth," she whispered. "Please. Tell me why this is all happening so fast." I paused, one hand on the doorframe, and delivered the final blow. "Because I'm the one who reported you." Silence. Then her breath shattered into a sob so raw it echoed through the apartment as I stepped outside. But the hits didn't stop there. Not for her, not for Harlow. By the end of the week, Harlow Milly was terminated. Matilda was dismissed. The company offered me a settlement so large it barely felt real. And the life Matilda had tried to chase collapsed right under her feet. Intentional or not, she had gambled everything, her job, her marriage, her future, on someone who dropped her the moment the fire got too close. And I walked away with my dignity intact and my dreams funded. I didn't attend the final meeting in person. That was intentional. I wanted distance, clean, surgical distance, because some endings deserve silence, not spectacle. So I sat in my car overlooking Elliott Bay as my lawyer called with the final update. The water below was calm, almost glassy, the kind of calm that comes only after a storm has taken everything worth uprooting. "It's done," Whitman said. "The settlement cleared. The company signed. And Matilda, she won't contest anything." Of course she wouldn't. Not after the evidence. Not after the board reviewed the internal damage Harlow and Matilda caused. Not after the legal team concluded the intellectual property violation alone would have buried them in court for years. I rolled down the window, letting the cold air hit my face, grounding me in the moment. My phone buzzed, another message from Matilda. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I already knew the tone. Desperation wrapped in nostalgia, dipped in self-pity. She'd been calling almost every night, leaving voicemails full of apologies and pleas. But the truth was simple. I didn't hate her. I didn't love her. I felt nothing. And that nothingness was colder than any revenge I could have orchestrated. Across town, Harlow's life had crumbled too. Fired. Blacklisted. Under investigation for corporate misconduct. He'd gone from executive golden boy to a cautionary tale in a matter of days. I started the engine. The city lights reflected off the water like shards of broken glass. Beautiful, sharp, honest. This wasn't triumph. This was clarity. Please subscribe, like, comment and share for more interesting stories.